Welcome back, everyone. It's the Bourbon Judge. Back at it, ready to dive into a brand new expression from Old Forester, 1924. But hey, before we dive into Old Forester, I want to give a huge shout out to my newest patron, my good friend Stacy R. So Stacy, welcome to the Judge family. Really do appreciate you becoming a patron, supporting the channel, as well as, in addition to Stacy, all the other patrons out there. Thank you for all the men, as well as all the ladies. We have a ton of ladies. So very thankful for all of our support. We have a blast. As we say, Stacy, welcome to the Judge family. Truly, we are a unique and cool, fun Judge family, if you will. So I appreciate you, as well as all the other patrons. And speaking of patrons, so today's episode, honestly, not possible without my buddy Jeremy. So one of my patrons who's out in Kentucky, my buddy Jeremy, he was like, hey Judge, 1924 just came out. Do you need a bottle? And I was like, absolutely. So I appreciate Jeremy. Thank you so much, man. I started to hear that this is finally starting to make its way out, like on the East Coast, but I have not seen it yet. So Jeremy was kind enough to get me a bottle. And again, man, shout out to you, Jeremy. I do appreciate it. All right, so this is a brand new and the 5th bottle in the Whiskey Row lineup. When you think of Old Forester, you think of like their core lineup, right? Before this, you have 1870, 1897, obviously the Bottle and Bond, 1910, and 1920. So this is number 5. And they called it 1924 because of, so when you think back about Old Forester, they're known for, they were the only distillery, at least legally, that was open before Prohibition, during Prohibition, because they were, selling whiskey for medicinal purposes, and then after Prohibition. So they're the only distillery that did not shut down legally, during Prohibition, right? But however, in 1924, because they were obviously running low, they did actually source and bottle some of their liquor that they got from other distilleries that were shut down. So this is kind of just paying homage to other distilleries and other whiskey that was not their own, that they put under their own brand that happened in 1924. So they're kind of paying homage from that perspective. So brand new release. It's truly part of Whiskey Row, so this should be something that sits on shelves, no different than like the Bottle and Bond or the 1910 and so forth. So we shall see. All right, I'm gonna dive into this one real quick. So MSRP on this one, it's 120 bucks. Now that is the part that is not cool, right? It's not cool. It's $120. Most Old Forester products are anywhere from like 60, 65, 70, maybe 75, right? Just kind of depending on where you're at and so forth. In the Bottle and Bond, sometimes you can find a little bit cheaper, like 55. So I would say most products are anywhere from like 55 to 70, 75 bucks, just kind of depending on the state you live in, the area, and so forth. But this one, $120. So I'm wondering, because I haven't sipped this yet, by the way. This is, I poured a little bit in my Infinity bottle. So I'm wondering, is it really worth 120 bucks? We shall see, folks. We shall see. All right, let me get into this nose. So the nose is definitely, wow, it's nice though. That very much quintessential Old Forester nose. Very chocolate, leather, caramel, oak fork kind of a nose. However, I will say there's a couple cool things. As it says here on the front, a 10-year-old bottle. So, 10-year-old. Yeah, this is 10 years old, coming in at exactly 100 proof, right? So 10 years old, coming in at exactly 100 proof. What's cool though about this one is that this is actually a new mash bill. So typically and traditionally, when you think of Old Forester, their core mash bill normally is 72% corn, 18% rye, and 10% malted barley. So it's always a little bit spicy on the spicy side, if you will. But this one actually has a new mash bill. It's 79% corn, 11% rye, and 10% malted barley. So a little bit more corn, a less rye. So my thought would be it's going to be a little bit sweeter on the nose, sweeter in the palate, and a little bit less spicy at the mid/back part of the palate. That's what my guess would be. All right, a lot of hype about this bottle. 10 years old, 100 proof. The nose is nice. It's almost like a the nose kind of reminds me of like a combination of like your traditional, like imagine like 1910, 1920 kind of combined. And almost even, honestly, in some ways, like the old early times kind of a nose, if you will. Has like a nice little spark at the end of it. All right, we shall see. Woo! $120. I am hoping this is truly worth it. It is aged 10 years. We shall see. All right. Cheers, everybody. Well, that's nice. It's definitely what I expected. Wow. So it's definitely a little bit sweeter than like your 1920 or 1910. Definitely a little bit sweeter because there's a little bit more corn. Definitely less spicy, not as much spice. A lot more like maple syrup kind of notes. A lot more maple syrup. A little bit more, a smidge more, like almost like a leather kind of a note. Maybe a little bit more. That is nice. Very nice. So everything in the nose matches the palate. Very tons of like leather, tons of oak, and a lot more maple syrup than I normally get in the 1910, 1920. A lot more. So, question is, Judge, is this a buy? Leave it on the shelf. Woohoo! All right, before I give you the verdict, 3 quick favors real quick. Is that cool? Number 1, hit the like button. Number 2, drop me a comment. Let me know what are your thoughts if you already tried 1924. And last but not least, please make sure you also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you get notification each and every time I release new content. Cool? All right. The verdict is in. This, my friends, is... it's a buy, but it's not an immediate buy. So what does that mean, Judge? I would say, honestly, it's a buy because it's a brand new expression and it's something that is unique and cool coming from Old Forester, which most of us in the whiskey world love Old Forester. However, this honestly, truly should be priced closer to around like $90. I get the age statement, the 10 years. I love that. If this was probably cask strength, more than likely, I would say it's a flat out buy, you know, regardless, because you're getting a 10-year whiskey at cask strength. But the fact that it's, you know, only 100 proof, it's really good. I love it. I actually, just recently, before I even recorded today, I poured 1910 and 1920 together. And the memory of that kind of like the, let's call it the 1915, it's not too far different than this. So is it worth $120? Honestly, not really, but because it's something new, I think it's worth like at least trying it, maybe at a bar or at a friend's house, or if you want to grab a bottle just because it's the first time something came out. It's kind of cool from that perspective. If it was at $90 all day, I would say it's a definite buy. And I'm only saying it's a buy now because it's a brand new release and it's pretty unique and interesting. But honestly, it's not that different, quote unquote, that different, where it really deserves that $120 price point. So I will say for now, this is the last time I'm going to be buying a bottle of 1924 at $120. Let me be crystal clear. The last time, I'll just stick with my 1910, my 1920. I'll make my own little 1915, and I'm good. I'll call it a day. All right, friends. Until the next time, peace, cheers. Most important, salute. Take care. See ya.